He was told to choose one alien girl as a reward. Instead, he took both the stars stretched endlessly above the small shuttle, glittering like scattered diamonds across the black fabric of space. Elias Trent sat in the cockpit, his hands resting lightly on the controls, his mind already drifting ahead. He had traveled farther than he ever imagined, leaving Earth behind to reach the mysterious planet of Virlia. The mission had been simple on paper: negotiate peace between two alien clans that had been at odds for centuries. In reality, it had been anything but simple. The Virlians were unlike any species Elias had encountered. Their culture was intricate, their technology breathtaking, and their sense of time almost alien itself. Cities floated above the planet in great crystalline structures, glowing softly in the light of two suns. The air shimmered faintly, a mixture of gases that made breathing slightly different but not uncomfortable. From the moment Elias stepped onto the surface, he felt both awe and excitement, tempered by the sense that he was part of something much larger than himself. The negotiation had been tense at first. Elias had spent days moving carefully between the two factions, understanding their grievances and listening patiently. Words alone would not have solved their problems. He had to demonstrate his reliability, his intelligence, and most importantly, his respect for their ways. And in the end, it had worked. The peace accord was signed, and the warring clans agreed to a truce. Elias had not only succeeded, but had done so with diplomacy and creativity, two traits humanity often underestimated in the eyes of the galaxy. Now, as he stood in the central plaza of Virlia's capital, he was presented with the next challenge, a reward for his efforts. He had heard of the Virlian tradition, but he had not fully understood it until this moment. The Council of Elders, beings tall and slender with skin that shimmered in subtle colors, addressed him in their melodic language, translated instantly by a small device resting on his collar. "For your service to Virlia," the eldest said, "you may choose a companion. One of our brightest and most talented young members may accompany you back to your world." Elias blinked. He had expected gifts of knowledge or technology, perhaps even honorary citizenship among their people, but not this. He looked at the two young Virlians who stepped forward. One, Lyra, had hair that seemed to ripple like liquid silver and eyes that glowed faintly with creative energy. She moved with grace, her presence calming yet vibrant, like the world itself was humming softly through her. The other, Kale, had a quiet intensity. His eyes were sharp, scanning everything with curiosity and intelligence, and the way he carried himself suggested a mind constantly at work, solving problems no one else could see. "You may choose only one," the eldest continued. "The other must remain here. It is the law of our people." Elias felt a pang of discomfort. How could anyone choose between two beings so remarkable? He knew this was a test, not just of desire, but of character. The Virlians did not expect a simple choice. They wanted to see how humanity would handle a situation that challenged rules, expectations, and emotions. He took a deep breath. "I need time," he said, his voice steady despite the whirlwind of thoughts in his mind. The elders nodded, giving him permission to explore the city and learn more about the two companions before making a decision. The first moments with Lyra were mesmerizing. She led him through the floating gardens of Virlia, where plants glowed with soft light and flowers hovered in the air as if suspended by invisible threads. Lyra spoke of her art, a type of holographic sculpture that could shift in response to emotions. As they walked, she created patterns in the air that made Elias feel as if he were moving through a living painting. He could feel the vibrations of her creations, the emotion behind each curve and color, and he was struck by the depth of her talent. There was joy, warmth, and beauty in everything she touched. "You can feel it, can't you?" she asked softly, noticing his expression. "I can," Elias said, amazed. "It's incredible. I've never experienced anything like it." Lyra smiled, a subtle curve that seemed to light the space around her. "That is the power of connection. Art can speak where words cannot." The next day, Elias spent time with Kale. They walked through a sprawling laboratory floating above the city, filled with machines that seemed impossibly advanced yet harmonious in design. Kale explained principles of quantum manipulation, energy transfer, and interstellar communication with ease, his words precise but passionate. He asked questions about Earth's technology, eagerly comparing human solutions to Virlian ones. Elias found himself challenged, thinking harder and faster than he had in years. Kale's mind was brilliant, and he felt a sense of camaraderie he had rarely experienced with anyone. "You think differently," Kale said, observing Elias studying a complex device. "You approach problems in ways we do not. It is refreshing," Elias chuckled, "and you make me feel like I've barely scratched the surface of what's possible." Kale's eyes softened slightly. "Perhaps that is the gift of meeting another world." Days passed as Elias moved between Lyra and Kale, learning, laughing, and understanding the depth of both their talents and personalities. Each offered a vision of life that he could never fully imagine alone. Lyra showed him emotion, creativity, and the beauty of living in harmony with sensation. Kale offered knowledge, logic, and the thrill of understanding the universe's secrets. Choosing between them seemed impossible. Elias sat alone one evening on the edge of a floating bridge, looking at the twin suns setting over the crystalline city. He reflected on what the elders had said. Choosing one meant leaving the other behind forever. And yet, his human mind could not accept that this was the only option. Humans were known for finding solutions where none seemed possible, for bending rules without breaking them, for valuing collaboration over limitation. Surely there had to be a way to honor both Lyra and Kale without defying the trust the Virelians had placed in him. As night fell, the city glowed softly beneath him. Elias felt the weight of responsibility but also a flicker of hope. He did not just want a companion. He wanted to respect the talents, dreams, and spirits of both beings. And for the first time, he allowed himself to imagine a solution beyond tradition, one that might shock the Virelians, but one that could also showcase the best of humanity. The next morning, he stood before Lyra and Kale, both waiting patiently. He smiled, feeling a mixture of excitement and determination. "I think I might have an idea," he said, "but it will require trust from both of you and from the council." Lyra tilted her head, intrigued. Kale's sharp gaze softened slightly, curious but cautious. Elias continued, "I want to find a way for both of you to come with me, not because I am greedy, but because I believe in collaboration, in harmony. I believe that humans can sometimes find solutions beyond what is expected. I don't want to leave anyone behind, and I don't want to break your laws. I just want to try." Lyra's eyes sparkled. "You are brave to even suggest it." Kale nodded slowly. "It is unconventional. But perhaps unconventional is exactly what this situation calls for." Elias felt a surge of hope. For the first time, the impossible seemed achievable. Humanity's creativity, empathy, and unyielding determination might just find a path forward, one that respected everyone's freedom and potential. The elders would be watching closely, but Elias was ready. He had completed the hardest part of his mission already, winning trust and proving the value of human insight. Now, the next challenge awaited, a challenge that might change the rules of tradition, redefine friendship, and test the limits of imagination. And for Elias Trent, that challenge was just beginning. The morning sun bathed Virelia in soft gold, making the floating city shimmer as if it were made of molten crystal. Elias Trent stepped out of his quarters, feeling a mix of anticipation and uncertainty. He had made a promise, to himself and to Lyra and Kale, that he would try to find a way for both to accompany him back to Earth. But promises were easier to make than to keep. Today, he would need to learn more about them, about their world, and about what made each of them extraordinary. Lyra was waiting at the edge of the plaza, her silver hair catching the light like liquid threads. She waved, and a small holographic butterfly appeared above her hand, glowing faintly as it flitted around them. "Good morning, Elias," she said softly, her voice carrying a warmth that made the cool morning air feel like sunlight. "I thought we might start with the gardens today," Elias nodded. "That sounds perfect." They walked together along floating paths that twisted and curled over the city, leading to the famed Sky Gardens, a network of hovering plants and flowers that seemed to grow in midair without any visible support. Lyra moved gracefully among the blossoms, her fingers brushing over petals that glowed softly as if they were alive. Each movement seemed to produce light, and the air carried a faint, melodious hum, as if the flowers themselves were singing. "This is my favorite place," Lyra said. "Here you can feel the balance between creation and life. Art and nature are not separate, they are one." Elias watched as she waved her hands, and holographic shapes began to form above the flowers. delicate birds, twisting ribbons of light, and abstract shapes that pulsed in rhythm with her movements. Each creation seemed to tell a story, shifting in form and color as it responded to her thoughts and feelings. He realized that this art was not just visual, it was emotional. He felt his own mood shift with the patterns, a subtle connection forming between their energies. "It's incredible," Elias said. "I can almost feel what you're feeling through your art." Lyra smiled. "That is the intention. Art is a bridge, a language that can speak where words are insufficient. You have the ability to understand it, and that is rare among humans." As they wandered through the gardens, Elias asked about her life, her dreams, and her experiences. She spoke of her studies in holographic art, the festivals that celebrated creativity, and the quiet joy of discovering new patterns in the air. Elias realized that she saw the world differently than anyone he had ever met. Lyra did not just observe beauty, she created it, and in doing so, invited others to feel it. Later, he met Kale in the central laboratory, a sprawling complex of floating platforms, translucent walls, and softly humming machines. Kale was already busy at a workbench, assembling a device that appeared to manipulate light and energy in ways Elias could barely comprehend. "Good morning, Elias," Kale said without looking up. "I thought we could examine the principles behind quantum resonance today. If you understand this, you will see why Virelia's communication networks are far more advanced than anything on Earth." Elias approached, curiosity piqued. Kale's explanations were precise, technical, and at times challenging, but he had a way of teaching that made complex concepts feel tangible. Using small holographic displays, Kale illustrated energy flows, particle behaviors, and the delicate balance required to maintain stability in Virelian technology. Elias found himself thinking faster, analyzing in ways he had never practiced, and enjoying it. "You humans think differently," Kale said finally, observing him. "You do not rely solely on patterns or logic. You experiment, adapt, and find solutions that are unconventional yet effective. It is refreshing." Elias grinned. "And you make me feel like I've barely scratched the surface of what's possible." For hours, they moved between theory and experimentation, creating small devices that hummed, spun, and glowed in response to their combined efforts. Elias began to understand that Kale's brilliance was not just in knowledge, but in curiosity, patience, and the ability to see connections where others saw only separate parts. That evening, Elias found himself alone again, reflecting on the two companions he had grown to admire deeply. Lyra had introduced him to the beauty of experience, the emotional richness of life. Kale had opened doors to understanding, logic, and innovation. Choosing between them felt impossible, not because they were rivals, but because each represented a part of life he could not imagine losing. The next morning, Elias suggested they explore the ancient archives, a repository of Virelia's history, art, and technology combined in one massive floating complex. The archives were alive with knowledge, holographic displays, floating books, and devices that responded to thought. As they wandered, Lyra paused before a holographic sculpture that shifted according to the observer's emotions. "Look," she said softly. "Each person sees something different. Your feelings shape reality here just as your art shapes the world outside." Elias reached out, and the sculpture rippled in response to him. He saw visions of Earth, stars, and the faces of people he loved, all blending into a fluid, harmonious pattern. He realized how much he had been shaped by both Lyra and Kale in just a few days, one by showing him the world of feeling, the other by challenging his mind. Kale, meanwhile, was absorbed in a section of the archives devoted to Virelian engineering. He pointed out mechanisms that could theoretically allow energy transfer across vast distances, demonstrating with holographic models how their ancestors had built floating cities without consuming excessive resources. Elias marveled at Kale's ability to understand and explain, to turn theory into practical applications that could change lives. "Your human inventions are primitive in some ways," Kale said, smiling faintly, "but the way you combine creativity and resourcefulness is impressive. You find solutions where we see limits." As the day faded into twilight, the trio stood on a balcony overlooking the city. The twin suns were low on the horizon, painting the sky in brilliant shades of orange and pink. Elias felt a sense of unity he had not anticipated. He had come to Virelia as a human diplomat, an outsider trying to negotiate peace. Now he realized he was part of something larger, a shared journey of understanding, respect, and discovery. Elias, Lyra said quietly, you have spent time with both of us. You understand us in ways few humans could, but there is still a decision to be made. Elias looked at Kale, who nodded subtly, his expression unreadable but open. He realized that they trusted him, in part because he respected their individuality and intelligence. He could not simply pick one and leave the other behind. It went against everything he had come to value about humanity and about connection. I know, he said softly, and I think maybe there's a way to honor both of you. I don't know exactly how yet, but I want to try. I want a solution that respects everyone without breaking your laws or leaving anyone behind. Lyra smiled faintly, her eyes reflecting the soft glow of the city. You think beyond rules, that is human of you, Kale nodded. It is unconventional. But perhaps unconventional is exactly what this moment requires. Elias felt a spark of hope. The impossible might be within reach. The human mind, with its curiosity, empathy, and creativity, could find solutions that others could not see. Perhaps in the vastness of the galaxy, there was room for a new idea, one that would allow both Lyra and Kale to journey with him, not as a reward, but as partners in exploration, discovery, and shared experience. As night fell over Virlia, the city glowed with a soft, ethereal light. Floating gardens shimmered, and the hum of technology filled the air. Elias looked at his companions and felt a deep sense of gratitude. They had welcomed him into their world, challenged him to think differently, and trusted him with a choice that was as complex as it was extraordinary. And though the path forward was uncertain, he felt ready. Whatever challenges lay ahead, whatever tests awaited him from the Council or from the laws of Virlia, Elias knew one thing. He would find a way that honored humanity's best traits, curiosity, empathy, and ingenuity, and in doing so might change the rules of what was possible. For everyone, the journey of connection and discovery had only just begun. The floating city of Virlia glimmered under the twin suns, a mixture of crystalline light and soft colors that seemed almost unreal. Elias Trent walked alongside Lyra and Kale, his mind buzzing with thoughts of how to solve the impossible choice he faced. He had spent days learning from both companions, sharing experiences and seeing the world through their eyes. Yet the challenge remained. How could he take both of them with him back to Earth when the Council had clearly stated that only one could leave? I wish there were a way to bend the rules without breaking them, Elias muttered, staring at the sunlit horizon. Lyra tilted her head, her silver hair catching the light. Rules are not always fixed, she said softly. Sometimes they exist to guide, not to limit. If you can think beyond the surface, you may find something others overlook. Kale gave a small, almost imperceptible smile. That is the essence of human creativity, he said. You see possibilities where others see boundaries. Elias felt a spark of hope. Perhaps there was a way, something ancient or hidden that could allow both Lyra and Kale to accompany him without breaking the Council's laws. He suggested they visit a rarely explored section of the city, the Vault of Echoes, an ancient repository of Virlia's most secret knowledge. The vault was perched atop one of the tallest crystalline towers, accessible only by a narrow bridge that shimmered with energy. As they approached, Elias noticed that the air grew lighter, charged with a subtle hum that seemed to resonate with thought itself. Lyra reached out and touched the surface of the vault's massive door. It pulsed gently under her hand, responding as if recognizing her presence. The vault only opens for those it trusts, she explained. Few outsiders are allowed in. It contains knowledge that is older than Virlia itself. Kale's eyes glinted with curiosity, and perhaps answers to your problem. The massive doors parted silently, revealing a chamber filled with floating spheres of light, glowing symbols, and ancient artifacts suspended in midair. The air smelled faintly of ozone and something else Elias couldn't name, something alive, ancient, and full of potential. He felt a thrill run through him. Here, he thought, was the possibility of a solution that had been waiting for someone clever enough to find it. They moved cautiously, examining the artifacts. Most were beyond comprehension, devices that seemed to manipulate time, energy, and space in ways that defied human understanding. Lyra's eyes shone as she passed her hand over a holographic sphere that changed shape and color with every thought she projected. Kale, meanwhile, was drawn to a smaller device, a crystalline structure etched with symbols that seemed to shift as he observed them. This one, Kale murmured. It appears to be an attunement device. It resonates with multiple consciousnesses simultaneously. Elias stepped closer, examining it. The device was simple in appearance, yet the energy it radiated felt profound. He could sense a faint pulse, almost like a heartbeat, and the air around it shimmered in response to his thoughts. Attunement? Elias asked. What does it do? Kale's fingers traced the edges of the crystal. From what I can tell, it harmonizes the energies of two compatible beings. It allows them to exist together in a unified state without violating natural laws. In theory, it could be used to share experiences, presence, and even movement without splitting the individual essence of either being. Elias' heart raced. Could it be possible? Could this device allow him to bring both Lyra and Kale with him, respecting their autonomy and the Council's rules? Lyra stepped closer, placing a hand on the device. It is old, she said. Older than anything the Council even controls. It was created to preserve harmony between individuals, to prevent loss when separation was necessary. Perhaps it is meant for situations like this. Elias felt a rush of excitement mixed with caution. We would need to test it carefully, he said. I don't want to risk anyone's well-being, but if it works, it could solve the problem perfectly. Kale nodded. Agreed. We must approach this scientifically, carefully observing the effects on all three of us. If the device can harmonize energy without harm, it may be exactly what you need. They spent the next hours preparing. Kale calibrated the device, adjusting its resonance to match the frequencies of their combined consciousnesses. Lyra added subtle enhancements, using her holographic energy to visualize the potential flow of harmonized energies. Elias felt both nervous and exhilarated. He had faced danger in his missions before, but this was different. The stakes were not about life or death, they were about connection, trust, and possibility. Finally, they were ready. The device glowed softly, suspended between them, responding to their combined presence. Elias took a deep breath. We do this together, he said. No one is left behind, no one is diminished. We try this carefully and we respect each other through it all. Lyra smiled, her eyes reflecting the glow of the crystal. I trust you, Kale nodded. As do I, let us proceed. Elias placed his hand on the device, followed by Lyra and Kale. The crystal pulsed in response, a wave of energy spreading through the chamber. Elias felt a strange sensation, not uncomfortable but utterly new, a blending of awareness, perception, and emotion. He could sense Lyra's joy and wonder, her subtle excitement at the patterns forming around them. He could feel Kale's curiosity, sharp and precise, analyzing every micro-movement of the device and their environment. And through it all, he felt his own mind remaining whole, separate yet intimately connected. The effect was mesmerizing. Thoughts flowed freely, understanding deepened, and a harmony formed that was difficult to describe. It was as if three minds, three perspectives, and three hearts had become synchronized without losing their individuality. Elias realized that this was not magic, but a natural resonance, an ancient technology designed to enhance connection rather than diminish it. Hours passed in what felt like minutes. They experimented carefully, testing movement, perception, and communication. With each trial, their harmony improved, and the device's glow became steadier, more vibrant. Elias felt hope growing within him. This was the key. If the Council allowed it, this device could let him take both Lyra and Kale back to Earth without breaking any law or trust. Finally, Lyra spoke, her voice soft but firm. This is beautiful. I can feel Kale, I can feel you, Elias, and yet I am still myself. It is harmony. Kale's usual precision softened into quiet wonder. I see it now. It is not about choosing one or the other. It is about collaboration, understanding, and unity. This is human ingenuity in action. Elias smiled, a mixture of relief and excitement washing over him. He had found a way to honor both of his companions, to respect the Council's rules, and to demonstrate humanity's ability to think beyond limitation. As they deactivated the device and stepped back, the chamber fell silent, the glow of the crystal fading to a gentle shimmer. Elias looked at Lyra and Kale. We have a chance to change the rules to show that choice doesn't have to mean loss. I think we can do this. Lyra and Kale exchanged a glance, their expressions reflecting trust, curiosity, and a shared sense of possibility. If the Council agrees, Lyra said, this could be the start of something unprecedented. Kale nodded. It is more than a solution. It is a demonstration of potential. what humans, and perhaps all beings, can achieve when they think together rather than separately. Elias felt a deep sense of purpose. The challenge that had seemed impossible was no longer a burden, it was an opportunity. An opportunity to bring together creativity, intellect, and human ingenuity in a way that could redefine what was possible for everyone, alien or human. As they left the Vault of Echoes, the twin suns were low on the horizon, casting long shadows over the city. Elias glanced at Lyra and Kale, feeling a bond stronger than he had ever known. He realized that the journey ahead would not be simple, and the Council might still be hesitant, but he was ready. Humanity's strength lay not in rules, weapons, or dominance, but in imagination, empathy, and collaboration. And tonight, in the golden glow of Virelia, Elias Trent knew they had taken the first step toward a future where both could walk beside him, united not by law, but by choice, trust, and the limitless potential of human creativity. The revelation was clear. The impossible might just be within reach. The morning light spilled across the crystalline towers of Virelia, painting the city in soft pinks and golds. Elias Trent walked beside Lyra and Kale, the artifact from the Vault of Echoes safely stored in a protective field. His mind was a mix of excitement and nerves. The Council had made it clear, choosing only one companion was law. Yet now, with the discovery of the attunement device, a path appeared, unconventional, daring, and possibly revolutionary. "We need to be careful," Elias said quietly, glancing at Lyra and Kale. "The Council is traditional. They follow rules, and they respect those rules deeply. If we approach this wrong, they might reject it outright." Lyra's silver hair shimmered in the sunlight. "I understand," she said softly. "But they also respect wisdom, creativity, and the courage to try something new. You have proven yourself already. Trust in that." Kale nodded. "Logic will support you. We will show them that this is not a violation, but a demonstration of understanding, respect, and collaboration." Elias took a deep breath. He had faced challenges before, diplomatic negotiations, risky missions, and dangerous journeys, but this was different. He was not just advocating for himself. He was presenting an entirely new idea, challenging tradition in a way that could reshape relationships, understanding, and trust between species. The trio entered the council chamber, a vast hall suspended above the city. The floor shimmered as if made of liquid crystal, and the walls glowed softly with embedded holographic displays showing the history of Virelia. The council elders, tall and graceful beings with skin that reflected subtle patterns of color, regarded them carefully. There was curiosity in their eyes, but also a hint of caution. "Elias Trent," the eldest spoke, her voice melodic and calm. "You have completed your mission and earned the right to choose one companion. Now you must decide." Elias bowed respectfully. "Honored Council," he began, "I wish to propose a solution that honors both tradition and possibility. I have discovered an ancient Virelian artifact, the attunement device. It allows two compatible beings to harmonize their energies, to exist together in unity without diminishing individuality. With this, both Lyra and Kale can accompany me to Earth, without breaking any laws or violating their freedom." A murmur spread across the council. The elders exchanged glances, their expressions unreadable. One of them, a tall being with deep emerald patterns across her skin, leaned forward. "You suggest a method unknown to us in generations," she said. "We have never allowed such a thing. How can we be certain it is safe?" "That it respects our laws and our people." Kale stepped forward, his usual calm and precise tone unwavering. "Esteemed Council, we have tested the device under controlled conditions. We observed the effects carefully, ensuring that each individual retains full consciousness, choice, and identity. The artifact is designed to preserve harmony, not to replace or dominate." Lyra added softly, "It is more than safe. It is a demonstration of connection, collaboration, and understanding. Elias has shown he values both law and individual freedom. This device allows that to continue while offering a solution that is inclusive and humane." Elias nodded. "I am not asking for favoritism, nor am I seeking to bend the rules for personal gain. I am proposing a choice that expands the meaning of reward without violating law, consent, or tradition. It is a step forward, not a step aside." The council remained silent for a long moment. The room hummed softly with energy, and Elias felt the weight of every gaze upon him. He remembered what Lyra had said: rules were meant to guide, not limit. And what Kale had noted, logic and creativity together often reveal paths unseen. One elder finally spoke, her voice calm but firm. You suggest a path that has never been attempted. It is risky, yet your reasoning is sound. Yet the choice must involve mutual consent from both parties. Lyra Kale, do you agree to this arrangement? Lyra and Kale exchanged a glance, a silent conversation passing between them. Elias watched, holding his breath. Lyra stepped forward first. I trust Elias, she said. I am willing to participate if it ensures that no one is harmed and that freedom remains intact. Kale nodded. As do I, the device preserves autonomy and understanding. I consent as well. The elders leaned back slightly, murmuring among themselves. The room was filled with tension, but Elias noticed something remarkable, curiosity rather than anger or fear. The council had never seen a human approach tradition in this way. Instead of asking for a simple reward, he had proposed innovation, empathy, and collaboration. After a long pause, the eldest spoke again. Very well, she said. We will allow this experiment. You may proceed under the observation of our designated monitors. We do not condone disregard for law, but we recognize ingenuity and the courage to expand understanding. This is a precedent, but perhaps one that will benefit Virelia and humanity alike. Elias felt a rush of relief and excitement. The council had agreed, cautiously but decisively. This was the first step toward something remarkable. He turned to Lyra and Kale, smiling. We did it. The council is allowing it. Lyra's eyes sparkled. It is more than I imagined. Together we can explore, learn, and share in ways that were not possible before. Kale nodded. We must still be careful. Observation from the council means we cannot act recklessly. But this is our chance to demonstrate that humans can find solutions that honor tradition while embracing possibility. Elias led them back to the artifact chamber. The device pulsed softly, sensing their presence. They had a lot to do before the council would approve full use, testing, monitoring, and ensuring that all three were comfortable with the experience. But now there was hope, real, tangible hope. Over the next few hours, Elias, Lyra, and Kale prepared for the first official demonstration. Kale adjusted the device, making small calibrations to ensure that energy harmonization was precise and safe. Lyra used her holographic skills to map potential emotional and perceptual flows, visualizing how their combined consciousness would interact. Elias focused on intention, grounding himself in empathy, trust, and awareness. This will show them that this is not about favoritism or convenience, Elias said. It's about harmony, cooperation, and understanding. Lyra smiled. And that humans can find solutions that others cannot without breaking rules or trust. Kale's sharp eyes softened with approval. Exactly. Let the council witness not only the function of the device but the potential it represents, respect, unity, and insight across species. When the demonstration began, the council gathered, floating observers arrayed around the chamber. The device glowed, humming softly as Elias, Lyra, and Kale placed their hands upon it. A wave of energy spread outward, not dangerous, but serene and resonant. The council watched as the three beings began to move together in harmony, their perceptions synchronized yet distinct. The elders leaned forward, eyes widening as they observed. No one had seen anything like it. The device allowed for shared experience without erasing individuality. Elias felt Lyra's joy, Kale's curiosity, and his own awareness as one flowing rhythm, but each remained fully themselves. The eldest finally spoke, her voice carrying a note of wonder. This is extraordinary. It is as if the three of you are one, yet not one. The law is upheld, freedom is preserved, harmony achieved. Humanity's ingenuity has produced something worthy of admiration. Elias bowed respectfully. Thank you, honored council. This is not just a demonstration of technology, but of trust, collaboration, and the belief that connection can expand possibility. Lyra added softly, We are willing, ready, and honored to be part of this experiment. It is a moment that shows the best of both our worlds. Kale nodded, and it demonstrates that intelligence, empathy, and creativity together can solve problems previously considered impossible. The council sat in thoughtful silence, absorbing the implications. Finally, the eldest spoke once more. Very well. We allow the continuation of this experiment. We will observe, guide, and ensure that all involved are respected. You may proceed, Elias Trent. Take both companions with you in accordance with the principles you have demonstrated, ingenuity, respect, and collaboration. Elias felt a surge of gratitude and pride. Not only had they found a way forward, but they had also created a moment that could change the perception of humanity in the galaxy. This was not just a personal victory. It was a symbol of potential, hope, and harmony across species. As they left the council chamber, Lyra reached out and touched his arm. "You really did it, Elias. You didn't just find a solution, you redefined what was possible." Kale smiled, a rare warmth in his expression. "And you reminded us that rules are not walls, but guides. With care and understanding, they can lead to unexpected discoveries." Elias looked at his companions, feeling a deep sense of connection and purpose. The path forward was still challenging, but now there was hope, trust, and a shared goal. Together, they could explore the universe, honor tradition, and prove that humanity's strength lay not in power, but in creativity, empathy, and the courage to think differently. And in that moment, high above the glowing city of Virlia, Elias Trent knew that the impossible was no longer a limit. It was a beginning. The morning sky over Virlia shimmered like liquid crystal as Elias Trent, Lyra, and Kale made their way to the Hall of Attunement. The hall was a place few outsiders had ever seen. Floating platforms surrounded a central chamber, and delicate threads of light connected the walls, ceiling, and floor. The energy in the room was palpable, a soft, vibrating hum that seemed to respond to thought and intention. "This is where the artifact will be tested fully," Lyra said, her voice calm but excited. "It is designed to harmonize energies, but the process must be careful. All three of us must align mentally and emotionally. Only then will it function correctly." Kale nodded, examining the device once more. "Precision is key. Any imbalance could disrupt the attunement, though it will not cause harm. Still, we must proceed with focus and trust." Elias looked at them both, feeling the weight of responsibility. He had already convinced the council to allow this unprecedented experiment. Now it was up to him, Lyra, and Kale to show that the human ability to innovate, empathize, and adapt could work in perfect harmony with alien wisdom. "Let's begin," Elias said. Together, step by step, the artifact floated in the center of the hall, glowing softly. Its crystal surface pulsed in response to their presence, as if it could sense their intentions. Elias took a deep breath and placed his hand on the surface. Lyra and Kale did the same. The moment their fingers touched the crystal, a wave of energy spread outward. It was not forceful or painful, but a gentle hum that seemed to resonate with their very consciousness. Elias felt the first stirrings of connection. He could sense Lyra's emotions, her joy, curiosity, and subtle excitement, without being overwhelmed. He could feel Kale's sharp focus, his constant observation, and analytical mind blending with their shared energy. It was a strange, exhilarating sensation, like standing at the edge of a new world and feeling every particle of it at once. "Focus on harmony," Lyra whispered. "Not control, feel the connection." Elias nodded, closing his eyes. He concentrated on breathing, on awareness, and on aligning his thoughts and emotions with the others. Slowly, carefully, the artifact's glow intensified, wrapping them in a cocoon of soft light. Their perceptions began to merge, not in a way that erased individuality, but in a way that allowed them to experience each other's senses and understanding simultaneously. "This is incredible," Elias murmured. I can feel both of you, yet I'm still me." Kale's voice was calm but tinged with wonder. "It works as described. The energies are harmonizing perfectly. Observation and understanding are flowing between us without conflict." The council monitors watched silently from the edges of the hall, floating on small platforms. They had come to see the demonstration but did not intervene. Every movement, every pulse of light, and every subtle shift in energy was observed with keen interest. Elias knew that their approval depended not just on the artifact functioning, but on how the three of them handled the process together. Minutes passed like hours. Elias felt Lyra's joy and wonder infuse him with warmth, while Kale's focus sharpened his perception and awareness. Each movement they made, each thought shared, created patterns of light and energy that rippled outward into the chamber. Elias marveled at the complexity and beauty of it all. "This is beyond anything I imagined," Lyra said softly. "It is as if our minds are dancing together, creating something larger than ourselves." Elias smiled. "It feels like a conversation without words, like we are discovering each other in ways that normal interaction cannot achieve." Kale nodded. "It is not just connection. It is insight, seeing your minds together, understanding the subtle differences and harmonies, allows a clarity that neither of us could achieve alone. The artifact responded to every nuance, every subtle thought, guiding their energies into perfect alignment. Elias realized that this was more than a device. It was a demonstration of humanity's potential. Humans, he thought, could imagine solutions where others saw only limitations. Humans could combine empathy, creativity, and logic to achieve harmony in ways that were previously unimaginable. Hours seemed to pass in moments. The glowing light of the artifact intensified as their connection deepened. Elias could feel the Council's attention not as pressure, but as recognition of the trust and care that the three of them had brought to the process. Finally, Lyra whispered, "I feel it fully now. We are harmonized yet free, separate yet united. It is perfect." Kale's eyes softened. "This is proof, not just that the artifact works, but that your approach, humanity's approach, is remarkable. Collaboration without domination, understanding without sacrifice. It is inspiring." Elias opened his eyes and saw the soft smiles of his companions. He felt a surge of pride and relief. They had achieved what he had hoped, a state of perfect attunement where individuality was preserved, trust was maintained, and connection was elevated. The Council monitors leaned closer, their expressions a mixture of amazement and approval. The eldest spoke, her voice echoing through the chamber. "This is extraordinary. Never in Virelian history have we observed such harmony among three distinct beings. The device functions as intended, and the unity you have created demonstrates understanding, intelligence, and respect." Elias bowed slightly. "Honored Council, the attunement is not only about the artifact. It is about intention, empathy, and the willingness to collaborate. This is how humanity approaches challenges, by thinking beyond the obvious, by combining creativity, logic, and understanding." Lyra added softly, "And it shows that connection does not require sacrifice. We can be together, harmonious, and still fully ourselves." Kale nodded. "It is an example of potential realized, of what can happen when beings work together without fear, without limitation, and with respect for each other." The Council fell silent for a moment, absorbing the implications. Then, slowly, the eldest spoke again. "Elias, Trent, Lyra, Kale, your demonstration has proven that the impossible can be achieved with care, intelligence, and understanding. You have honored both our laws and the principles of your species. You have shown that choice need not mean loss, and that harmony is possible across boundaries." Elias felt a warm rush of satisfaction. This was more than a trial. It was a testament to human potential, creativity, and empathy. He had not only found a solution, but had demonstrated that humans could navigate impossible challenges with intelligence and heart. Lyra smiled, her eyes reflecting the glowing light of the artifact. "We have done this together. And I think we have shown that connection, trust, and understanding are stronger than rules alone." Kale's gaze softened as he looked at Elias. "And that humans, with all their limitations and flaws, have the ability to inspire, innovate, and redefine what is possible." Elias felt a deep sense of gratitude. He had not just succeeded for himself. He had succeeded for both Lyra and Kale, for humanity, and for the possibility of stronger, more respectful relationships across worlds. As the attunement ended, the artifact's light dimmed gently, leaving the chamber bathed in a soft, serene glow. The Council monitors floated closer, nodding in approval. "We will allow this to continue," the eldest said. "You have proven that it is safe, harmonious, and respectful. Your approach will set a precedent for future interactions, not only between humans and Virelians, but for all beings who value empathy, intelligence, and collaboration." Elias, Lyra, and Kale exchanged glances, each silently acknowledging the trust, effort, and understanding that had brought them to this moment. They had not only passed the trial, they had created a new standard, a way to demonstrate that impossible challenges could be met with courage, care, and ingenuity. As they left the Hall of Attunement, Elias felt a surge of excitement for the future. The artifact had shown them a path, and the Council had accepted it. Soon, they would be able to travel together, not as a compromise or a reward, but as partners in discovery, exploration, and shared experience. High above the glowing city of Virelia, Elias Trent realized that humanity's strength lay not in dominance or power, but in creativity, empathy, and the ability to see beyond limits. And in that moment, he knew that this trial was only the beginning of a journey that would challenge, inspire, and redefine the meaning of connection across worlds. The trial had succeeded, and the impossible was no longer impossible. The floating city of Virlia shone in the golden light of its twin suns, casting long, crystalline shadows across the plaza. Elias Trent walked beside Lyra and Kale, their steps careful but confident. The council had witnessed the trial of the attunement device, and the results were undeniable. Harmony had been achieved, individuality preserved, and trust honored. Yet today, the final approval awaited, the council's official acceptance of their unprecedented arrangement. "This is it," Elias said quietly. "The moment that decides everything. Are you ready?" Lyra's silver hair glimmered as she nodded. "I am. The trial showed that we can harmonize without losing ourselves. I trust you, Elias, and I trust the council to see reason." Kale's expression was calm but firm. "As am I, we must remain patient and precise. The council values clarity and evidence. We have provided both." The three of them approached the central chamber of the council, a vast hall suspended above the city. The walls shimmered with holographic patterns that shifted in response to thought, depicting the history and culture of Virlia. The elders were already present, their tall forms reflecting the soft light. The air hummed with anticipation. Elias took a deep breath. "Honored council," he began, bowing respectfully. "We have completed the attunement trials. The artifact functions as intended. Lyra, Kale, and I have demonstrated harmony, individuality, and respect. Today, I ask for your approval so that both companions may accompany me to Earth, not as a violation of law, but as an expansion of what is possible." The room was silent for a moment. Then, one of the elders, her skin rippling with delicate patterns of silver and green, spoke. "You have shown us something extraordinary, Elias Trent. The trial was flawless. The device works as promised, and your approach honors our laws while expanding understanding. Yet we must ask, what a future precedent? How can we ensure that this does not disrupt tradition?" Kale stepped forward. "Esteemed council, the attunement device is not for ordinary use. It requires consent, trust, and careful preparation. It is not a tool for convenience, but for harmony. This is not a precedent for lawlessness, but for thoughtful innovation. Humanity's approach demonstrates that rules can guide creativity, not limit it." Lyra added, "We consent willingly. We understand the responsibility and the care required. This is not a reward chosen lightly. It is a path that respects both our autonomy and the council's wisdom." Elias nodded. "And I pledge that we will honor all Virlian laws, traditions, and protocols during our time away. This arrangement is a demonstration of collaboration, not defiance. It reflects the values of empathy, understanding, and ingenuity that humanity brings to the galaxy." Another elder, her skin glowing faintly blue, leaned forward. "We have observed your efforts, your respect, and your ingenuity. Never have we seen a human approach a challenge with such care for balance and trust. You have proven that the impossible can be achieved without harm, without deceit, and without compromising integrity." The council murmured among themselves, their expressions a mixture of awe, curiosity, and cautious approval. Elias waited, heart steady but pounding with anticipation. Lyra and Kale stood close, their hands brushing briefly, a silent signal of mutual trust and readiness. Finally, the eldest spoke, her voice calm but full of authority. "Elias Trent, Lyra, Kale, you have demonstrated wisdom, courage, and respect for law and individuality. The council hereby grants approval. Both companions may accompany you to Earth, under the conditions you have agreed upon: harmony, consent, and mutual respect. Your approach honors tradition while expanding the understanding of what is possible." Elias felt a surge of relief and joy. "Thank you," he said sincerely, bowing. "This is an honor and a responsibility I will carry with the utmost care." Lyra's eyes sparkled with excitement. "We did it, Elias, both of us together. I never imagined such a thing could be possible." Kale nodded, a small, rare smile crossing his features. "This is more than a solution. It is a demonstration of trust, intelligence, and collaboration. Humanity has shown us that thinking beyond limits can create harmony without sacrifice." The council observed them closely, and Elias knew their approval was not just a formality. It was recognition of the ingenuity, empathy, and collaboration that humans could bring to interstellar relations. By embracing possibility, respecting individuality, and demonstrating care, they had achieved what no one else had. The ceremony concluded with a traditional blessing, a glowing ribbon of energy weaving around the three companions, symbolizing unity, respect, and harmony. As the ribbon dissipated, the council members stepped back, nodding with quiet satisfaction. Elias, Lyra, and Kale had not only been accepted, they had set an example for future collaboration, showing that boundaries could be respected while imagination and ingenuity flourished. After the ceremony, Elias, Lyra, and Kale walked through the city, floating pathways beneath them glowing softly with energy. "I still can't believe it," Elias said, a smile tugging at his lips. "We actually did it. Both of you will go with me to Earth." Lyra laughed softly, a sound that made the air feel lighter. "It feels like a dream, a wonderful, impossible dream," Kale added. "It is a testament to trust, preparation, and careful thought. We have proven that choice need not be exclusive, and that collaboration can surpass limitations." As they reached a quiet balcony overlooking the city, Elias took a moment to absorb the scene. The twin suns cast long, golden rays across the floating towers, highlighting the beauty of a world that had seemed so alien just days ago. He realized that this acceptance was not merely about companions. It was a reflection of humanity's potential to navigate challenges, honor relationships, and innovate without causing harm. "Do you think Earth will understand?" Elias asked, his voice quiet. Lyra tilted her head thoughtfully. "They will, and even if they don't fully understand, it does not matter. What matters is that we know the value of what we have created here: connection, harmony, and trust." Kale's eyes softened. "This is a model for all worlds. Cooperation, ingenuity, and respect can solve problems that seem impossible. Humanity has shown that it is capable of more than simple survival. It can inspire, create, and expand understanding." Elias felt a surge of pride, not just for himself, but for humanity, Lyra, and Kale. They had achieved something extraordinary, an acceptance that respected law, preserved individuality, and demonstrated the power of empathy and intelligence working together. As the day faded into evening, the city of Virlia glowed softly under the light of its twin moons. Elias, Lyra, and Kale stood on the balcony, looking out over a world that had accepted possibility, innovation, and care. "Tomorrow," Elias said, "we begin our journey to Earth together, not as a reward, but as partners, explorers, and friends." Lyra smiled. "I have never been more ready. This is the beginning of something incredible," Kale nodded. "And it is proof that humans can create solutions that honor all involved without breaking trust or law. It is inspiring." Elias felt a deep sense of purpose. They were not just traveling to another world. They were carrying with them the promise of collaboration, empathy, and innovation. What they had achieved in Virlia would ripple beyond this planet, a testament to the strength of thought, care, and imagination. As night fell and the city shimmered with gentle lights, Elias Trent understood that acceptance was not merely a conclusion. It was a new beginning. Humanity had proven itself capable of solving problems that seemed impossible, and now, with Lyra and Kale at his side, the possibilities were endless. They returned to their quarters to prepare for the journey ahead. Supplies, plans, and farewells were arranged, but Elias found himself pausing often, looking at his companions with gratitude and anticipation. Both Lyra and Kale were remarkable, each in a unique way, and together they represented the best of understanding, ingenuity, and harmony. As he settled into his quarters for the night, Elias felt a quiet confidence. The council had accepted their proposal, the artifact had proven its power, and trust had been maintained. Tomorrow they would begin a journey not just through space, but toward discovery, partnership, and the limitless potential of collaboration. And for Elias Trent, Lyra, and Kale, the adventure of harmony, exploration, and humanity's brilliance was only just beginning. The stars stretched endlessly across the black sky as the shuttle rose above the shimmering towers of Virlia. Elias Trent sat in the pilot's seat, Lyra and Kale beside him, their hands brushing briefly, a small gesture of trust, connection, and shared excitement. The city below glowed softly, a final farewell from a world that had welcomed them, tested them, and ultimately trusted them to carry its understanding beyond the stars. "This is it," Elias said softly, "the moment we begin our journey home." Lyra's silver hair caught the starlight as she smiled. "It feels surreal. I never imagined we would leave together not as a choice, but as partners." Kale's eyes, bright and observant, swept across the instrument panels. "The artifact's attunement remains stable. All systems are functioning, our connection is steady, the journey should be smooth." Elias felt a surge of pride. The trials, the council, the attunement, they had all led to this moment. Humanity's ability to think beyond limits, to combine empathy, creativity, and logic, had made the impossible possible. He glanced at his companions, feeling the harmony between them, not forced, not artificial, but natural and strong. As the shuttle passed through Virelia's upper atmosphere, Lyra reached out and touched one of the glowing control panels. A holographic display responded to her thought patterns, illustrating the city below in shimmering detail. "It is beautiful," she whispered. "And we are carrying a piece of it with us," Kale nodded. "Every detail, every lesson we've learned here, it will remain with us, and we can share it with others, expanding understanding beyond this planet." Elias smiled. Humanity had always been explorers, thinkers, and dreamers. The ability to navigate challenges with ingenuity and care was what had carried them across Earth's oceans, and now it had carried them across the stars. He realized that this journey was more than a return home. It was a continuation of the path that had brought them together, a journey of learning, collaboration, and inspiration. Hours passed as the shuttle glided through the void. Lyra spent time projecting holographic art, delicate ribbons of light dancing across the cabin as Elias watched, fascinated by the way her creations shifted with her emotions. Kale, meanwhile, studied the ship's systems, analyzing energy flows and communication arrays, occasionally sharing observations with Elias. "This is extraordinary," Elias said quietly. "I've never seen two beings complement each other so perfectly." Lyra smiled. "And yet it feels natural. The attunement allows us to be connected, to understand each other without losing ourselves. That is what makes this possible," Kale added. "It demonstrates something larger than all of us. That connection, empathy, and careful thought can overcome challenges that seem insurmountable." Elias nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility, but also the exhilaration of possibility. The journey to Earth would not just be about returning home. It would be about sharing the story of what had been achieved here. Humanity had shown that choice could be expanded, that rules could guide innovation, and that empathy and intelligence together could solve problems beyond imagination. As the shuttle passed through a field of distant stars, Lyra turned to Elias. "Tell me about Earth," she said softly. "I know some things from your stories, but I want to see it through your eyes." Elias smiled. "Earth is complicated but beautiful. Mountains, oceans, forests, cities, all filled with life and energy. People are diverse, creative, and endlessly curious. There are problems, of course, but there is also hope, invention, and resilience. You'll love it." Kale leaned closer, his curiosity evident. "And humanity, how do they compare to Virelia?" Elias chuckled. "We're different, but in ways that matter. We're resourceful, we think outside the box, and we care about connection even when it's messy. Sometimes that leads to mistakes, but it also leads to extraordinary achievements, like this journey we're on." Lyra and Kale shared a glance, understanding without words. The attunement had created a bond that transcended language, allowing them to communicate not just thoughts, but understanding, emotions, and subtle insights. As they traveled, Elias reflected on the lessons of Virelia. The beauty of Lyra's art, the precision of Kale's science, the wisdom of the council, and the ancient power of the attunement device. It all came together to form a new understanding of humanity's role in the galaxy, not as conquerors, but as explorers, innovators, and collaborators. The shuttle drifted closer to Earth, and Elias felt a familiar thrill in his chest. The planet grew larger, blue and green, glowing softly under the sun. Cities and forests, oceans and mountains, everything was alive, vibrant, and waiting for them. He realized that the journey had been more than interstellar travel. It had been a journey of trust, understanding, and discovery. As the shuttle entered Earth's atmosphere, Lyra's eyes widened in awe. "It is breathtaking," she whispered. "The colors, the life, it feels alive in a way I could not imagine." Kale nodded, his analytical mind quietly taking in every detail. "The energy flows, the balance of ecosystems, it is complex yet coherent. Humans have built and maintained something remarkable." Elias smiled. "And now both of you are part of it. Together, we can share knowledge, art, and ideas, exploring what is possible when worlds and minds connect." The shuttle landed softly in a secluded area prepared for their arrival. As the doors opened, the fresh Earth air filled the cabin, and Elias, Lyra, and Kale stepped out together. Lyra reached out, touching a tree nearby, marveling at the texture of leaves and the subtle scent of nature. Kale examined the soil and atmosphere, noting its composition with fascination. Elias stood between them, feeling the completeness of their partnership. "This is it," he said softly. "Our journey has brought us here. Not just to Earth, but to a place where we can explore, create, and share everything we've learned." Lyra smiled, her eyes bright with wonder. "And we'll do it together as partners, equals, and friends." Kale added, "This is a testament to what can be achieved when intelligence, empathy, and trust are combined. Humanity has shown its best qualities, and we will help carry them forward." Elias felt a deep sense of satisfaction. The impossible choice had been resolved, not by favoritism, not by compromise, but by collaboration, ingenuity, and care. They had respected laws, preserved individuality, and created a bond stronger than he could have imagined. As the sun set over Earth, casting long shadows and golden light across the land, Elias Trent knew that this was not the end of their journey. It was a beginning. Together, they would explore, innovate, and inspire. They would prove that humanity's greatest strength lay not in domination or force, but in curiosity, empathy, and the courage to imagine solutions beyond limitation. The three of them walked toward the waiting shuttle hub, ready to begin a new chapter. Lyra projected a ribbon of holographic light from her hand, weaving patterns in the air that danced with emotion and beauty. Kale adjusted a portable device, observing and enhancing energy flows with precision and care. Elias guided them both, smiling at the harmony of creativity, logic, and human intuition at work. "This is just the start," Elias said quietly. "Together we can show the galaxy what is possible when hearts and minds align." Lyra and Kale nodded, understanding perfectly. The attunement had not only connected them, it had transformed their understanding of partnership, choice, and potential. As night fell and the stars blinked above, Earth welcomed them home. Elias Trent, Lyra, and Kale had crossed worlds, solved the impossible, and demonstrated that humanity, creative, empathetic, and bold, could rise to challenges that no one else dared attempt. And together, they stepped forward into a universe full of possibilities, ready to explore, learn, and inspire in ways that were only beginning to be imagined. The journey home had ended, but the adventure of discovery, collaboration, and human ingenuity had only just begun.